This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
Thank you! I couldn't have completed this project without a little extra coffee. And since I brush with Colgate's Pro Series toothpaste with an expert-level whitening for a vibrant glow, I could show up to set each day camera-ready and smiling wide.
Well, Kelly, looks like a little Colgate gave you a lot of confidence.
Colgate Optic White. Find it at all major retailers.
Was my reaction really that surprising?
Yes, it was. Could you do what you did? Of course you could. But I never thought you would or could do that to me.
I'm really sorry, kiddo. But you thought wrong.
You and I have unfinished business.
Baby, you ain't kidding.
Hello, welcome to Unequal Sequel. My name is Dave, and I'm one of the two hosts of this senseless podcast.
And my name's Rich, and I'm the other host of this senseless podcast. Think of me as Jack Skellington to Dave's Sally. We're both a little bit creepy, but we just want to be loved.
Yeah. The premise of Unequal Sequel is very simple. We ask our guests their best ever sequel, worst ever sequel, and finally their dream sequel.
And of course, we quite often drift off and talk about other things. Sometimes movies, sometimes life in general.
And sometimes we do like to drop big fat spoilers, and that's totally by accident. So if that happens, skip ahead, go hang that picture up. You've been meaning to do it for ages. It's been on the floor. Put it up. Because on today's episode, we are joined by Chris Johnston.
Chris is the host of the Easy Riders Raging podcast. It's a podcast all about retro movies.
We're very excited to sit down with Chris and chat all things sequels with him.
These are Chris Johnston's Unequal Sequels. Enjoy!
So we got a cheeky first question we always ask our guests.
Uh-huh.
And that is, what is the first sequel you remember seeing?
Yeah, I think about this, and I think my first instinct is to say probably Temple of Doom, although technically you could say it's not a sequel because it's a prequel.
We'll allow it.
Yeah, it's probably that, and I watched that like every week when I was between the ages of about 5 and 18. I don't know, something like that. So yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind. If not that, maybe Empire, maybe Spy Who Loved Me.
Wow, all the classics then.
But they're just the films that were on the TV and were, more importantly, we would have recorded off the telly, and so we had them there. Just good to go.
Yeah, people I think forget how much recording off the TV we used to do when we were little. It was a big thing. Do you have any favourites that you recorded off TV that you watched for a long time?
Ooh. It's more I remember like the mishaps. Like I remember we had like Return of the Jedi, but then we lost the Jabba's Palace sequence because it had an episode of Neighbours taped over it.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Luckily, that's the best bit. But I also just like when I started doing podcasting, I was talking about a lot of films from my childhood. I wish I had all the VHSs.
Oh.
So then because I watched like Ghostbusters, and like I know where all the ad breaks are. I know where all the stuff that was cut out, and so I'm waiting for like the that VHS skeleton guy to show up, and the Listerine Dragon and Mr. Soft and all this stuff. That's all as much part of Ghostbusters as Twinkies and the Marshmallow Man to me.
Rich says something very similar.
Yeah, it's Ghostbusters. I used to have Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 on the same. It was like both movies on one VHS.
Yeah, sort of long play that.
It had like a trailer. It had trailers in between. And now Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 don't feel the same without the trailers. There's weird trailers in between the two movies. But yeah, like I've got so many memories of movies like taped off of the TV that I'd scrawled on like what was on there on the stickers and stuff. And yeah, the adverts, it's amazing.
Yeah, mixture of films, TV, all of it. Anything goes.
Did you have certain ones like do not record over?
I don't think so. I think from my perspective, I felt like they were all do not record over, but
Right.
I might have been my own awareness. The weirdest thing with Ghostbusters actually was, because I'd only ever watched it from like the ITV version, and then when it came out on DVD, a friend bought it on DVD, and there's the ghost blowjob bit.
Yeah.
That I was like,
That's never on the telly.
and I had no awareness of it either. So I was like, what is happening? What is happening? Because it's so odd. But like to have seen the film so many times, and then like there's this new weird scene. It's so bizarre. Yeah, it's odd.
So when you were young, were you a big film fan? Was it an early on thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it much as a kid because it just seemed like it's just what I enjoyed. So it wasn't. So I was, but I didn't really overthink it till I got to about. There was a period where I was about 15 or 16, and I remember probably about 16. And I remember me and one of my good friends going to like. I think like Ritz was going out a video near us, and then they became Blockbuster, and we just bought tons of ex-rental things. And then at the same time, going to like HMV and buying all this stuff in sale. And just there was a sudden period in my teen years where it was just like trying to get hold of everything, just try and see everything. But the films I loved as a kid, I would just watch endlessly. Like I remember watching Back to the Future. And then I just rewound it and watched it again.
Well,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong.
That's what
with
we
that.
did, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Like, because for films were relatively limited. Like now, like my son has like infinite access to all the movies he wants to watch. But back then, like you got a video, and that was you rented that from the video shop, and that was your video for like a week or maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe even day. Wasn't it like sometimes just
that was
48
it.
hours in the early days? I remember the early ones.
Yeah, it might have been just a weekend.
I had to
And you
watch
would watch
Kevin
it
Costner's
as many
Robin Hood.
times as possible.
Quickly, yeah.
But that's I find weird. I remember when somebody now brings up a film that, like a recent film they've seen multiple times, that carries a lot of weight. Like if someone said they'd watched, I don't know, something that just come out on Netflix, like a Netflix film, they said, "Oh, I watched it a couple of times." I'd be like, "Wow,
Yeah.
a Netflix film." But like when I was a kid, there are films I despised, and I would have seen them a dozen times.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I didn't think anything of it. It's just like, because they were on. It was on the TV. So what else am I going to do in my time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
Are you, as you watch a lot of like the retro films, is your podcast, do you get annoyed when you find someone you haven't really met and they say they haven't seen one of those films, and then you kind of make them watch that film, and then are you eagerly awaiting their response? And if it is negative, how do you end that friendship?
But that's the thing. I try and avoid those because I've been burnt like that.
Yeah.
And I was sat next to my friend Sophie at work today, and we were talking about films. And she reminded me again that she'd never seen any of the Star Wars films. And I went, "Don't bother. If you were going to have done it, you would have done it 30 years ago."
You're a better
Yeah.
person than me.
Yeah.
So much better than me.
Well, this is because we had the same conversation, I think, during the pandemic. And I said, "Watch them in this order." And I tried that. And she mentioned that again today. She remembered. She went, "Oh, I've still got that list you gave me of how to watch them." And I went, "Don't bother." Not like in a mean way. I was just like, I know they're not for you. And that sounds horrible. I don't know. It sounds weird, but like,
Oh, I get it.
because I've done the enthusiasm, and now it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
take it as it comes.
You tried that route, and now you're trying the other route.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first I was like, "You must watch them." Now I'm like, "Don't watch them." Is that going to work?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, if you haven't seen them by now, they're not for you.
Not true. Not true. What was the order you suggested to her? Which way would you do it this way?
Oh, I'm trying to remember now. I gave her like a set route. I think I told her to skip all the prequels. I think I went, watch the original trilogy. Don't bother with the prequels. Watch the first two new ones and Rogue One. I said, don't bother with Rise. And then I think if Andor had started, I would have definitely said, but watch this. This is probably better than all of it, to be honest. But yeah, it's definitely don't watch the prequels and don't watch Rise of Skywalker. Those are my key tips.
That's a good shout. Yeah. Yeah, that's very fair.
Do you feel that way with the Indiana Joneses now? Because you were talking about Temple of Doom earlier, and that was one of your first sequels you remember seeing and getting excited about it.
Oh, that's a lovely comeback, Dave.
Thank you.
That's some professional podcasting.
How would you have the same rule, or would you just say there's 3 of them?
I mean, if someone was new to them, I'd push them towards the 3 and probably say you could probably stop there and you'll have a cracking time. The weird thing with because the new one came out and everyone kept going, well, at least it isn't as bad as 4. And I watched it and went, well, this makes me like 4 more.
Oh, no.
That's how little I thought of 5. Because I thought 5 was trash.
What?
Opinions differ.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand people who didn't like 5, but I don't think it's better than 4. I don't think 4 is better than 5.
I mean, the key with 4 is a Spielberg film, and even a lesser work from the master is kind of...
He is a master.
And I do think Mangold is a bit overrated.
Oh.
Just saying.
We are dropping all kind of bombs here.
Like Logan's a decent film, though, but it's... They're better.
Than Logan. Logan's one of the best comic book films there is, right?
The end is really weak. Like, I remember really, like, the bit where they're, like, running to escape to Canada and, like, his sacrifice. I was like, I get that it's important, but I wasn't moved. I wanted to... Like, early in the film, I was moved, and by the end, I was like,
Okay.
Yeah. It's an unpopular opinion, though. I'm aware it's not, the opinion.
This podcast is full of unpopular opinions.
Absolutely. We come out with unpopular opinions all the time and reminded of them, like, frequently by our listeners, which is great. That's what we love.
Oh yeah, and I talked to my friends ahead of these choices, and they're all unpopular opinions, even amongst people I know very well. So that will echo throughout the airwaves. My unpopular choices.
Yeah. Let's get on to it. So let's go on to the first one. What is your best ever sequel?
So obviously, you could just say T2. I think T2 is just like the default answer, but I thought it's T2 default to go with, just because it's like, who hasn't come in and gone, yeah, Terminator 2 is really, really, really good. But I was thinking, no, there's more to. I needed to like approach the question, like think about the question really, good. And like I'd come at it with some like specific criteria in terms of like I wanted a film that was better than the original.
Okay.
And also did things differently. Like for a long time, I was set on choosing MI3. I'm a big fan of MI3.
Oh.
And I liked that it kind of like completely took the franchise in a different way. And like, it's not the best of the 6. Like Fallout's the best, but like 3 is so integral into making that series what it is for me.
Absolutely.
But then I was sat in the office talking to a friend about the various films I was tearing up, like films that were better than the original. So I was talking about like Fury Road or the Toy Story films. But those ones came to mind instantly. And then I started talking about the film Before Sunset, which she wasn't familiar with any of the trilogy. And so I started describing to her, and I started finding myself getting really passionate describing these films. So and then like it was as I was talking to her, and I was like, no, I think I need to pick this as my film. Like I think it's better than its predecessor, Before Sunrise, and I also love that it makes me like the first film more. Like it adds more weight and more texture to that original film, so I can now go back to that original film and appreciate it more as a result of the sequel. And also, it's kind of like a surprising sequel in terms of like the first film came out on I assume like 94, somewhere in that ballpark. I haven't done the maths. But no one was expecting a sequel to like a kind of micro budget indie romance. Not at least 10 years later. And it's such a strong, and also it's 80 minutes. Like,
yeah, love that.
Who doesn't love an 80-minute film? Like it just comes in real self-assured. As soon as they come out of that bookshop and they're talking again, it does, because I rewatched them both on the weekend though. It feels like not a second has passed, which helped because not a second had passed between me watching them, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just like the magic was back, but it was even more magical. And it's just like this, it's just a beautiful day in like the city of love. And like, it's just it's so minimal though. Like I was thinking most sequels, the idea is bigger. You've got to go bigger, and like the budget has gone to 17 trillion and they've got, Hugh Jackman's back to play the waiter, whatever. But this one is like, no, this one is somehow even more intimate it's even more small, and it's the emotional weight. Like, I think the thing I've noticed mainly over doing podcasts on films over the last couple of years is the most a film can do for me is make me feel something, make me laugh, make me scared, make me care. And I watch these films. I fucking love these two people. Like, I'm in love with both of them through these films. Like, I love to be in their company, and like, especially, you know, like by the end, I'm so like when because they've both the nuance of this film is it makes you recontextualize the first film and sort of address how they've changed since, and things how they remember it differently and how you remember it differently, and that you get so caught up in the drama of these two people, and like by the end you're just getting more and more and more caught up to the fact that you're in the flat with them, and there's a certain magic to it. Is how I feel. It's, and I like that they didn't have to achieve that magic through, you know, Weta did some really cracking special effects. It's just pure cinema. And like I was thinking, like, these films really feel designed for me because I love just walking. Like, as people have often said, I'm a massive walker. They say something like that anyway. You know, I like to walk, and like I like to travel around European cities and wander around. Like, my holiday somewhere, I'll go to a city, I'll just walk till my feet are just dead. I don't know. I feel like that's my approach to travel. And I also like talking. I can talk till the cows come home. And that's what these films are. They're just walking and talking. And it's just simplicity. Yeah.
They're the opposite of your superhero blockbuster.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't like a superhero blockbuster. Don't get me wrong,
but you don't want it every day, like, because it gets boring. So having something like this, where it's literally shot with like one person with a steady cam, and it's like 3 shots. I think there are 3 or 4 cuts in this whole movie. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful, and you feel so, like you're saying, you feel like you're there with them. You feel like you're the voyeur watching their conversation. And you wouldn't achieve that if it was more complex than it is. You know, it's such a beautiful movie.
Yeah, yes, the simplicity and the and again, I feel like it must have inspired other films because I'm a big fan of Clerks 2, and I don't think you'd have Clerks 2 without this film because he's kind of riffing on the same idea of like, what if we just picked up with these two people 10 years later? For my money, to great success in Clerks 2. Not so much in Clerks 3, but maybe in 10 years' time, I'll revisit that and recontextualize. Because there's just, and I think it made me think of, I was thinking about this on the train today. It made me think of what I like most about great TV is that the art of a great TV show for me is it's just characters who I find either interesting or who I just like spending time with. It's just the opportunity to be with them in a space with them. And that's what this is. This is 2 characters I've got invested in the first film, and now I'm all in on them. And now I just want to spend as much time as I can with them because that's just, you know, that just works for me.
Yeah, I love how natural it feels to be as a sequel. If you say they're making a sequel and we're trying to get these 2 characters back to meet in a certain place, other films have done some horrible jobs of like making that happen. But somehow in this film, it just feels just so lovely and natural and beautiful that, of course, he's wrote that book. Of course, he's going to be in that. He's chosen France and whatever. Of course, he's going to go and see what he says. Of course, they're going to spend some time together. It's just so nice. Can I ask when you first saw it? How long ago?
I think I probably saw the first one just before this one came out when I was in university. So I probably saw this one, my guess is about 2003.
Right.
And then I don't think I saw this at the cinema. So I probably saw this in about 2005 or something like that.
And when you first watched that first film, did you have any knowledge of what it was or what it, you know?
No, I feel like it was just something that somebody put on. Is the truth be told? Like I
love those films.
Yeah. Like I remember. Like, do you ever see Tape? The film he made. Like Richard Linklater made a film. It's basically like a film play, but it's just one of those random films I watched in the middle of the night in someone's room once. It was just like
that was university, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was university all over.
Yeah.
That's how I first watched Audition and scared myself ridiculously silly.
I think that's especially like, not that there wasn't internet then, but there's some art in the pre-internet days of like, you didn't know anything or you didn't necessarily know anything. Like maybe I saw a trailer or something I rented or something like that. Maybe I read a review in Empire or something like that. But generally, you went into most things pretty blind. Like that, some of the best days of my film watching were when I was a kid. Me and my friend would go to the paper shop in our village, and they had a very small selection of videos, and so we would rent most of them. Like I remember, one week we rented a killer bugs film, and within the same week we rented a killer tick film, which was basically the same film. One of them had Carlton from The Fresh Prince in. That's all I can remember from that.
Alfonso Ribeiro, whatever his name is.
Yeah. I don't believe he did the dance, but he was definitely in it. But like I said, we would just watch whatever was on the shelf. That sketch in League of Gentlemen was painfully apt when they're like, seen it, don't want to see it. That was my teenage years. Yeah.
Amazing. So with Before Sunset, I keep wanting to call it Selling Sunset because I just had a conversation about my wife about that thing. Have you gone on and watched the third one as well?
Yes. I meant the third one I saw at the cinema, and I've seen. So the third one I watched at the cinema when it came out.
Right.
And without spoiling the film, I came away from watching that film in a positive state of mind. So I don't really want to go into spoilers because people should watch films. But when I rewatched the film during the pandemic, and I watched that film and came away with a negative state of mind, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think I do.
And so I like that I had a completely different reaction. Not that I enjoyed it both times, because it's a tougher piece of work. Like the romance of Sunset is pure. It's almost a fantasy. It flows, and that's not what Midnight is at all.
No.
Like I mean, there's moments where there's a beautiful location and they have a lovely dinner, but that's kind of like a false kind of. You should have seen the signs. That's not where we're going.
It's another part of your life, isn't it? Because Sunset is that exciting first date you kind of have with that person that you just spend a massive walk and go for like a silly amount of talking, and then you realize it's been like 9 hours and you've had a wonderful time kind of thing. And then Midnight is a very much a different piece.
I think we described it before as that the stage that you get to in a relationship where you're like, I love you, and I also kind of want to kill you at the same time.
Yeah. You're 99% of the cause of my rage, but I can't live without you kind of thing. Which is sweet.
And I think we all kind of get to that point in relationships, right? Like, you're like, we have a little sign in my house, which is like, it's like marriage is finding that person you want to spend the rest of your life pissing off.
I like that.
But I also just like the idea of like, next time I watch it, I don't know how I'll feel. Like it will be in the moment. Because when I watched it in the pandemic, I didn't go at it with any. I probably was in a negative state of mind. It was kind of like the apocalypse, and so maybe that fed in, or maybe it fed in that I was 10 years older, or maybe 5 or 10 years older, whatever, and I was in a different frame of headspace. I don't know, but I like that these are films that you can chew on in that way. That they're not just. There's nuance.
Yeah. To a person that hasn't seen these kind of films, or Before Sunset in particular, how would you describe it to an unknowledgeable person? Because it's quite basic, but it's quite deep. Yeah,
a colleague, I think she'd been in the conversation where I was recommending these films, and she went away and started watching the first one today on the weekend. And she said to me today, she went, "Yeah, I'm about like half an hour in and nothing's happened." And I went, "Yeah, that's what the films are." I said they're minimalist films that basically just each film is this couple wandering around a European location talking. First film, they meet as strangers on a train. So he's an American interrailing. She's a French woman who's traveling home. Meet as strangers, decide to get off the train in Vienna, walk and talk. And then Sunset, the pair reunite in Paris 10 years after the first film, and then just walk and talk some more.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? Just describing like, and that's good. It's brilliant.
It's really good.
It's really well done. Like a film like that, which should be probably awful, is so beautifully filmed and delivered. It's a great film. What's your favourite part? I mean, it's quite hard to break up. It's like, do you like that walk or talk, or do you like that walk or talk, or do you like the bit when she plays the guitar?
I mean, we all like the bit when she plays the guitar. She's doing little dancing. It's very, it's
we all want Julia Delpy to play the guitar to us in a nice.
Everyone does.
Apartment.
It's she just invites you into the flat, and she's going to make some tea. She's going to put some honey in it, and I was like, that's weird. We don't do that here much, but I'll drink it. You know.
Oh well, the French are awful at cup of teas. I'm just going to let.
I don't think she put any milk in it. I was looking for the milk.
I asked for milk once, and I looked like I've just killed their mum or something. It was awful in France.
Yeah, where we were just we want to drink as kind of a milk delivery thing. Like if I have a coffee that's black, I don't want a coffee that's black. I want mostly milk with some caffeine in there.
Yeah, I want it tasting nice. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yes, I'm trying to narrow down. I mean, there's something about the boat, which is a real like. Are we going to get on the boat and go down the Seine? Go, of course you're going to go on the boat. Why wouldn't you go on the boat? And there's something about that just takes it up a little bit. You know, like. Yeah, I found it really interesting watching, because I watched 1 and 2 back to back on Sunday. I was just sat around drinking cocktails, and I had an excuse to watch these films. And I like how the first one ends with like shots of places they've been across that 24 hours. Second film begins showing us places they're going to be, and there's not many, like you said, because there's not many places they go. They start the bookshop, they go for a coffee, they walk in some gardens. They go on the boat. They go to her place. That's it.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's a lean film, but I respect that. Like almost every film I see is about 15 to 20 minutes too long. If it's a James Bond film, it's probably half an hour to 45 minutes too long.
Yes.
And I like James Bond films. You know, I'm British. It's the law. We like them. But I couldn't say that about this film. This film it knows what it wants to do, gets in, does it, gets the hell out of there.
Did you feel that way straight away?
I think the first time I watched it, and probably the first few times I watched it, it didn't occur to me how short it was, to be honest. I didn't really, because it just felt like a complete package. I hadn't really taken on board. I don't think it was until somebody pointed out to me, to be honest, how short it is.
Yeah.
Because it feels just right. Yeah, so it didn't occur to me that it's usually, I guess that's a good thing, because like I say, I don't mind a film that's long. I don't mind a film that's short, but I don't like a film that feels long.
Yeah.
Like I can watch a 3.5 hour film, but sometimes films feel long or feel too long, and you go, yeah, that's not really what you watch like Goodfellas. Goodfellas is like 3.5 hours, but Goodfellas what feels like 80 minutes itself, because it moves.
Yeah, true.
And I appreciate a bit of pace in a film.
Absolutely.
Do
you think this is Richard Linklater's best film? I think this is his best film, I should say. So
I've got a lot of time for Boyhood as well. I'll be honest with you.
No,
I haven't gone that I haven't gone back to, as far as I can recall. I don't think I've rewatched it since its release. But that I thought was on a similar level of sort of masterpiece for me.
Wow.
Okay.
But then,
I think it's all right.
It's weird that you would not like that, but you would like this, because they're both kind of, you can see how he got from one to the other.
I can, but I like spending time with Jesse and Celine. I hated spending time with that boy.
I get that. I get that. Yeah, he's no Jesse or Celine.
Yeah. I could spend lots of time just in their company, and the Boyhood boy and anyone around him. I was like, no, I'm talking about a film that felt long. I could not wait of that thing to finish. I own it, and I've never gone back to it. What other films has he done? I'm thinking about Dazed and Confused is a good one.
Yeah, like I've never raved about the way I like Dazed and Confused, but like some people are like, it's the film, and I was like, I think because I have just slightly less frame of reference to me. I've never lived in Texas or lived in the 70s. It's a good film. Whereas this film, I've walked around Paris.
Yeah, you can connect with that.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
He did School of Rock. That's good.
Yes. That's probably his best then.
A Scanner Darkly. That's good. I know it's like, but again, I still think this is better.
Yeah. I even rewatched ahead of this. Did you know there's there's a couple of other appearances of Jesse and Celine. Were you aware of this?
No, totally.
No.
So it's one thing that you kind of feel like, oh, it's a big surprise that they came back in this film, these two characters. But a couple of years, I think about 2001, he made the film Waking Life, which is kind of rotoscope dream experiment film. Jesse and Celine are in a scene in that where they're in bed having a conversation about dreams.
Well, I never knew that.
So it's on YouTube for people that want to check it out. It's like about 5 minutes long. And also there's a great Alamo Drafthouse advert featuring the pair.
Right. The cinema in America.
Yeah, it's an American cinema chain. I believe it's in, I was going to say Texas, but I don't know.
It's got to be Texas, isn't it?
But it's a great advert of them making a before film, but then getting interrupted by phones going off in the audience. So it's it's like a little short, and Julie Delpy like swearing at the audience and stuff. So it's for those that know, it really lands because you can see that like Ethan Hawke's trying to talk about Proust and gets distracted, and she's like, can't you hear he's trying to act? And she's like, and that's a real challenge for him. He really can't act. So it's just like,
we have to ask quickly because we can't talk about these films about would you watch another one?
Oh, unquestionably, whether they should make one. I guess that's the rub of a sequel. Like sequels are kind of like this drug we're all addicted to, but they almost always disappoint. It's a real landing that plane, especially making it better is tough. But like, it almost upsets me the idea that they wouldn't make another one because I feel like I need it, and I'm pretty sure I get the feeling they won't make another one.
No,
and if they don't, they've got a perfect trilogy, which again is
hard to do.
But I would be there day one showing one if they made another one, just because I'd need to know what's going on with them.
Absolutely.
Future you faces some big expectations. Work out more, go to bed earlier, and most importantly, make smart money decisions. Thankfully, today you has Bank of America. One place with tools and guidance to help balance tasks from budgeting to saving. So you can just be you with big plans. Do more with a bank that asks, what would you like the power to do? Explore our tips and more at bankofamerica.com/futureyou.
The holiday season officially starts when you get that first card in the mail. Shutterfly makes it easy to add more meaning to the everyday with hundreds of holiday card designs that can be personalized in seconds with your favorite photos from this year. Select your greeting, customize the color, and even add little extras like personalized foil to make a holiday card that really shines. Enjoy 40% off with code SMILE40 at Shutterfly.com and send something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
Talking about disappointing sequels, you've linked it to this brilliantly. What is your most disappointing sequel? So it doesn't have to be your worst. It's not your worst sequel, but it's the most disappointing sequel. It doesn't have to be a bad sequel, but you went in high and you came out low.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think I was talking to a friend about my choice. Incidentally, my choice is Kill Bill Volume 2.
Is this your worst sequel or your most disappointing? Because they're two different questions, Chris.
It's definitely not the worst sequel in the world. I can quantifiably say that. Like, I rewatched it yesterday, gave it 2.5 on Letterboxd, which is an average score, let's be honest. And I looked back, I was like, are there sequels I've rated lower? And there were lots. And I was like, oh yeah, I gave X-Men Apocalypse 1.5 somewhere during the apocalypse, the pandemic. Well, that wasn't it. So no, there are easily sequels that are worse than it. I'm not trying to say it's the worst film ever made or the worst sequel ever made. There's just something about how disappointed I think is the key I am with it. And I always have been, to be honest. Like the first film, I've got so much love for the first film. Like the first film, like I remember when it came out, I saw it at the cinema and it was everywhere. It was like a pop culture moment. Like you couldn't move without hearing the RZA track, like da, 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 and like seeing images of her in the Bruce Lee outfit everywhere. And I remember some friends had like the Pussy Wagon keychain because they were cool guys, I guess. Whereas the second one had no cultural impact because like the first one is just like, on one level, it's just super fun. Like it's got some real boss fights, a soundtrack that I still listen to today, and it's kind of like a. I always think of it as like a kind of piece of like pop art in the way it used color and black and white and animation. It was a real kind of like, it was like a moment, like an experience. and the second one isn't fun at all. And I thought when I was rewatching it yesterday, I was worried when I rewatched it yesterday because I thought if I now really enjoyed it and now we were doing this, I feel like an idiot. When actually I picked it, but it's still like none of the fights are good. Like maybe a couple of the Pai Mai fights are okay, although they tonally would fit much more in the first film where it's much more
and they don't go on for very long.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't like the fight in the trailer. I mean, it's fine. I don't like it. Whereas like Crazy H, you go from the Crazy 88 fight to the O-Ren fight. You're like, oh, this is liquid gold, and there's nothing. And I know he's not trying to do that. He's not trying to do the same thing again. So in a way, I respect the director for not trying to like. And here's some more fights, but I'm kind of like, I'd like some more fights and I'd like some better songs. And like, but just like you follow around like Bud for like 20 minutes in his like shitty life, like literally because he's got to clean up the loose. And we spend about a quarter of an hour with this pimp from in South America, played by Michael Parks. And like there's a scene with truth serum. You're like, what is this? 24? There's like a scene. What's the scene? I don't like the scene where that assassin decides not to kill her because she finds out she's pregnant. I think mainly
you're basically describing the film now, Chris. But
yeah, it's just the whole film.
It's just I think the key is I don't think the writing's there. Like wakey, eggs and bakey. That's not funny. Like it's but for me it's the whereas before Sunset it's the rise. It got better. This one. It was worse. It was a big drop off for me. That's the key.
I think it's exactly what you were saying earlier about a film that feels really long. Like, I watched it. I hadn't watched it for a long time. I remember actually being in the minority of not really enjoying Kill Bill or Kill Bill 2, Volume 2, back when they came out. They're quite low down in my Tarantino list of movies, I think. But I watched it again. 1 is definitely more fun than 2, and 2 really drags. There are bits of it. I'm like, oh God, not another talk with an old man that has no consequence.
But that's the weird thing. Like, but it's by choice. That's what's so bizarre about it for me. And like, I think some people have said like, well, 2. I remember years ago telling my friend didn't like 2, and he said, well, you got to have 2 because 2's like all the plot. You know, you got that's where it's all the beats in her life about him and the baby and all that stuff. Yeah. And I remember saying like, I kind of like it if it was just like a kind of unfinished symphony, just like it never.
Brilliant.
And we spent the rest of our lives going like, imagine how good Kill Bill 2 would have been. And imagine the fights if he just made part 2. But it's just like his purpose. That's the weird thing I've never understood about this film, because it's always been said that he intended it to be one film. He just lopped it in half because money, right? And I never really believe that, because they feel so tonally different. Like there's the obvious thing they say, the first half is very Asian influenced, the second has more of a Western influence.
It does, yeah.
And so you go like, yeah, because he was making 2 films. Like he put all the fights there so it would climax for that film. But
I still think it'd be better if you cut the best 20 minutes out of this film and stuck it on the end of the first one, personally.
Agreed. If we got that guy from that 70s show, do one of his like supercuts for everyone, I think we'd do the world a favor. Yeah. Although there's not much I'd take out. Yeah, there's not much I would take out of the first film, to be honest, because the fight in the house, the bit in the hospital, which is dark as it comes, and then we're off to Japan for like 45 minutes, and that Japan stuff is just hilarious.
It's great. You're so right. You're right. The bit when you find out Bud's job is just the most pointless 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Like you've already got from his conversation with his brother, Bill, a minute ago, that he's down on his luck and he had to sell it. You didn't need to see him go to a bar. Yeah, I'm a bouncer, Bill. Got you. Check.
But Tarantino's like, no, you don't understand how down on his luck as he is. And it's like, I think we do. Like, no, you don't. And then the thing of like, and he's so down on his luck, and yet he defeats her. And I always think like, he defeated her easily. Like she just took on an army with like grace and like she was like a proper superhero. And then she just keeps during this one, she just keeps leaping into that trailer in a sort of weird manner. You're like, all right, whatever.
Did you have you read the thing about Bud Michael Madsen's hat? That Quentin, apparently he turned up on set with the cowboy hat, and Quentin Tarantino hated the cowboy hat, so he wrote a scene into the movie for him to get rid of the cowboy hat, and then that's in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to turn back time a little bit here, Chris, and find out when you first watched it. Because it didn't... Volume 1 came out 1 year, and then Volume 2 the next year, or was it 6 months later? I can't actually remember. I remember, like you, when I was a big fan of 1. A lot of us went and saw it at university, and we were like, wow, that's incredible. Bought a poster, I stuck it in my student
I'm sure
wall.
someone had it in our student house.
Yeah,
Somebody
everyone
definitely had it.
And then I remember we going second one, going, I can't wait to see what kind of fights they've got in store with this one. And disappointing, like you, it's not my worst, but disappointing. I have never watched it since that day until yesterday. And then I was like, okay. I remember it being a lot of talking, it going on for a while, very much lacking of the fighting that I loved so much, and even just the interest in, like you said, with the anime and the colours. I know in the first one they went black and white to try and get the rating down, but it worked. It's fucking brilliant, and the music's all great. And then you just get this one, and they're all talky with each other. You're waiting for that Daryl Hannah fight or whatever, because they've been built up massively in that first film. And like one gets poisoned. One gets her eye ripped out, and she has a big question mark at the end. I don't know if you noticed that when they were striking off the names.
But that's the real mystery to me, because they're like, oh, he's making his big martial arts epic. And you go, great, and you can see that in the first film, and then in the second half of it. So it's all meant to be one film, and yet the second half is largely not a martial arts film, other than the flashbacks in China. So it's just, again, it's the weird choice of like, I can respect a sequel to when they successfully change genre. Alien to Aliens is like the obvious example.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are other examples, but I can't think of them right now. It's rare. It's rare because it's a gamble.
Oh yeah.
In Aliens, it pays off gangbusters. For me, in this one, it didn't pay off. I don't know. It just didn't.
What, did you see it in the cinema then?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Popcorn. Looking forward to it.
I probably didn't buy popcorn because I'm legendarily cheap. I'll be honest with you. Unless I brought it with me, like in my Jack Bauer satchel.
Were you nudging people next to you saying this is going to be brilliant, and then they looked at you at the end, and checked in? Are you okay, Chris?
It's like I remember years ago to see The Matrix. And The Matrix, I was like, oh yeah, that was good. But and everyone was talking about how good it was. And I remember going, yeah, but The Phantom Menace is going to be so much better. I can remember saying that, like, you idiot.
I think I watched this with you, Dave. And I think we watched this at uni, didn't we?
We definitely went and saw the first and second one together, a big group of us, yeah.
I don't think the same as you, I haven't watched this since. And yeah, and I did watch it. And I think my reaction was exactly the same, which was, it's really quite boring.
I think we came out and just like, oh,
yeah.
That's not what I hoped it was going to be. And I don't know if that's our problem or the way it was marketed at the time. And you know, I think Tarantino made the film he wanted to make. Apparently, yes, he does count it as one film, but he had to break it up because he had to finish this part of the film.
He released it as one film as well, didn't he?
He has a copy he sometimes screens to friends, family, or to an audience of his choosing. But it's never actually been released. It's called like Kill Bill, A Whole Bloody Affair.
Yeah,
or something.
The Whole Bloody Affair, yeah.
But yeah, because he owns a cinema in LA, doesn't he? So I think you can watch it. It's like 4 and a bit hours long. And it's got some added stuff in there apparently.
I'm always intrigued just to see how it's paid.
Yeah,
just as a curio, if nothing else.
Yeah, I would watch it.
Well, you know what I'd quite like to read, because I really liked his paperback version of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'd really like him to write some more paper. What I wanted more than anything else, I want him to do a paperback version of Inglourious Basterds, which I think for me is probably my favorite Tarantino. But I know he had loads of other material that he couldn't, because he was going to make it as a mini series at one stage and then he slimmed it down. I was like, I'd love to read his book version of that. More, that would be my But I'd read his Kill Bill off the shelf. How well that would hold up in paperback, I'm not sure, to be honest. And then she kicks him in the chops.
I mean, she's so good though, isn't she? Uma Thurman.
Yeah,
in these films. I think everyone's really good in these films. I don't think there's any problem with casting. How do you feel about David Carradine as Bill? Scary? Because he's so built up in that first one, and then you've got this guy with the list.
That's the build up.
You're waiting for that moment, that fight, aren't you? You come on, and then
so it is interesting because you think, oh well, at least it's going to build to one big fight with Bill, and then I remember that first time around, like,
yeah,
is that it?
Yeah.
Or what the other build-ups are like, we're not telling you her name, and then you will tell you her name, and you're like, well, why did you hide it? Because I could.
I said the same thing to myself I was like, 10 minutes ago, her name was beeped out. Why did you choose this moment?
Yeah, what was the point of that?
Because it was just kind of like, if you're going to build stuff up to have a bad payoff, that's a stupid idea. I don't know.
It's weird.
I think David Carradine means more to you if you watched westerns and kung fu movies in the 70s, like Tarantino did, because he was in things like Gunsmoke, wasn't he, and like Kung Fu and all those kind of western TV shows, and then like kung fu stuff as well. Like, so I think he's more of a thing if you were into that stuff when it was big in like the 70s, which we know Tarantino's massively influenced by. But I think people of our generation potentially just go, oh, yeah, another old bloke.
It's a funny film because Rotten Tomatoes is a horrible thing, but on the popcorn meter, Kill Bill 2 has a higher rating than Kill Bill 1.
That's the
I can understand
audience,
it though.
Right?
Really?
I can understand it in just people saying they're like, oh, it's the one with the because I think I generally remember hearing reviews where it was better reviewed because people are like, oh, it's such a mature film.
It's
and
the one with the talking.
You go like,
Brill.
You watch it now, you go like, I think he thought it was the more mature film. You're like, oh, it's about like emotion stuff. But you're like, what? The lioness has been reunited with her cubs. Oh, give me a break.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the popcorn meter thing is the audience score, isn't it, rather than the critics?
But don't you think the first one's a more of an audience-friendly film than the second one?
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But I think I think some people just, if they can't get on board with the martial arts, I guess.
Maybe. But everything memorable from Kill Bill is from that first
genre. Film. Yeah.
It's not from the second film. You go to a normal, like, name something that happened in that second film, a normal cinema go and be like, no, that was the first film. Yeah. No, that was the first film. And then it doesn't hold up. And I watched it again yesterday and I thought, oh, yeah. Yes,
the music's the best thing about both the movies for me. I think the soundtrack is best. Volume 1 and Volume 2, the soundtrack is the best thing about the movies.
But I think the soundtrack of 1 is notably there's a couple of choice tracks on 2, whereas all of 1, other than like the sound effect-y kind of stuff, it's like I remember it was played all the time in our uni house when it came out, and I still will listen to it regularly because it's a great soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack.
Absolutely, it is a great soundtrack.
Again, have to ask you the next question is long-rumoured third film that they've always teased about, that scene from the first film about when you're older, come and see me, we'll settle it. Would you watch that film?
Well, of course I'd watch it. I'm not like, it's the nature of sequels is you go like, do I think it's a good idea? No. Would I watch it? Of course I would. The sequel, as ever, has you on the needle.
But is that a strong enough premise to build a film around?
No, not at all.
Fair enough.
No, yeah. So I get it as a conceit. You guys, a conceit, you go, yeah, it's quite clever, but I don't think it would make a fulfilling film.
Yeah.
I mean, bringing it back to the indie of it all, like. And I guess before sunset, like the long delayed sequel is something that we all get so excited about because we waited for years. We get so excited and we're so easily disappointed.
It's hard,
because it can't be, and it like
not every film can be Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, that's the exception to the rule. Exactly.
Got another little question for you before the dream sequel question is, what sequel seems like a bad idea, but you ended up liking? Again, Top Gun Maverick could be a good choice here.
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question that I ended up liking. Oh, well, no, that's a good question.
At the
I'm
beginning,
just playing for time.
No, we can, for examples, because you've dropped one right
Sure.
at the beginning of this conversation when you Mission Impossible 3, possibly.
Yeah, I mean the first film's not a film I'm mad about. I remember enjoying it when it came out on video. Second film didn't like at all, and so I guess the fact I enjoyed the third film so much, I used to be a bit obsessed by the third film. I think I had a problem. Truth be told,
is it because it's got the best villain of all the movies?
Oh,
Philip Seymour Hoffman is the best villain.
He's the best actor of all the movies.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's definitely the best actor in all those movies.
I think because I was a big Alias head as well, and it was basically just an Alias movie.
Right? Oh, were you? Were you a J.J. Abrams fan at that point?
Yeah. Back at that point, I think I then the first couple of years of Alias, was a big fan of, and Lost, and there's a period where I just used to like his films as well. Just after it came out, I really dug Super 8, and
Super 8's great.
Yeah,
Super 8 is great. Yeah,
and the first Star Trek, there's a lot to enjoy.
Again, great.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the second one, not so much.
So with Mission Impossible 3, were you? I'm guessing cinema job in university.
I was working this cinema in that period. But it was after university, just after, and I think maybe I was working the cinema or I just finished. Either way, I didn't pay. That's the only important detail to remember.
Were you looking forward to it at that point? A Mission Impossible 3.
I think the trailer. I think the trailer was like, oh, the trailer was like, unless they've just sold me like a false bag of goods. Like it was. I remember being impressed by the trailer.
Yeah,
and that was like, there's potential. Like so often we've been disappointed. We've seen a good trailer, Suicide Squad trailer or stuff. But you're like, oh no, that I can remember the stuff at the end where he's getting hit by the rocket on the bridge and down Key West, wherever the hell that is, and stuff. And I remember all that. They teased me nice with a sequel, because before that I think I'd considered it kind of a dead franchise.
I did as well. I massively did at that point, because like you, the second one didn't age well. I think I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it.
Didn't age well by the time it even reached the screen.
Oh, yeah.
No, I agree.
It had a great soundtrack.
I quite famously, because I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, didn't even like the first Mission Impossible. The second Mission Impossible put me off forever, and then I never watched any others until we started doing this podcast and people started picking them, and they ended up having to watch all the Mission Impossible.
We made you do a ranking.
You did make me do a ranking, and three is when exactly the same as you. 3 is when I'm sort of like, oh, I'm back in this now, because Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance, that character, that what he does with that character is so chilling, and all baddies should be like that. If you just anyone making a movie that has a bad guy in it, watch this performance, because that is not a bad guy that will kill you. That is a bad guy who will kill your entire friends and family and make you watch and then leave you alive, because that'll hurt you more.
Definitely.
That's a baddie.
Was that cold open? Like you go, oh yeah, it's you go Mission Impossible. It's just like one of these sort of Bond wannabe franchises. I've got it and stuff. But that opening catches you off guard.
Yeah,
both structurally and impact, and you're not ready for it. Because I didn't go in. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be a big spy shit. But when you cut straight in to and then the bullet, and you're like, whoa, that's you go, oh, that's how to open a film.
Yeah, and then they light the fuse.
Yeah.
Can you see then where it's gone to now? Did you have that was going to be the direction that film was going to go into, that franchise? Sorry.
I guess you sort of picked up by the fourth one. You'd work take on there's going to be at least one big stunt per film. That's what by the fourth film because the fourth film, I think most of my friends like it more than me, but I do think like the Burj Khalifa scene is probably the best scene in all the franchise.
That's so good.
Just because the film has its ups and downs. The fourth film, it's a decent watch.
It's got a rubbish bad guy. That's the big problem of the fourth one.
But that sequence is amazing. And so by the time you got to that, you go, oh, that's the big set piece for this. And then you saw the trailer for the net one after that. You go, oh, the bit on the plane, that's the big, we're going to go to a bunch of places, and Tom Cruise is going to run, and there's going to be a big. The third film is key in the franchise because they'd worked out. Abrams and co came up with a structure. They're like, we can just do this.
Yeah.
The first film wasn't replicatable. Second film, not. This one, we go, there's a jelly mold here. We can make loads of vodka jelly out of.
Do you think it gets enough credit?
No, not at all. People give more credit to 4, and like I say, 4 is decent, and that piece is great. And almost in some ways, 6 doesn't get enough credit because 6 is an amazing film. Yeah, and people say it gets so much credit. I'm like, the 6 is just liquid gold. 6 is just like it can't get any better than 6.
No,
that's Fallout. 6 is right?
Yeah, I think you can use this movie if you're a film studies teacher or lecturer or something. You can use this movie as the perfect example of a MacGuffin as well, because they're looking for this thing called the rabbit's foot, and nobody knows what it is, and they never find it, and no one they don't even know what it is, and if they found it, they wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. Like, it's the most pointless thing. They don't. It's just the most MacGuffin ever.
What is your dream sequel?
It's weird. I came up with this idea straight away. I was like, well, they make so many of the franchises of my youth, my past, have come back in some form. And for years I thought, why has no one ever done anything with the Police Academy films? And I was like, well, yes, they are really, really homophobic and racist. But they're films that just seem to be on all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That I've just got fondness for, even with full awareness of their flaws. I'm not going to deny their flaws at all. But so I was thinking, oh yeah, well if I could just do anything, I'd make a legacy sequel for that, like a passing of the torch. Especially because I was looking up, like last couple of days, I sort of Googled, and I was sad to see so many of the cast have passed away. And so I was like, well, this would, if I was doing it now, there were still some really talented people that I'd like to see them reprise their roles one more time. And so, yeah, there's a biggest part of me was like, well, yeah, I could just say, like a fourth before film. Like, I'd love to see a fourth before film, or yeah, I might Kill Bill 3, but it's going to be just like the first one. But no, I was like, no, it has always, like, I'm surprised nothing's been done with the Police Academy films, and just to hear that just on the big screen, that would be, there's a little magic to that for me.
Yeah. Do you think it's because by the end they were just so terrible? Like that Mission to Moscow. Was it Mission to Moscow, the last one?
I was about to ask Chris, can you name them all?
Awful.
That's a proper. Does the first one even have a subtitle? And that's the truth.
No. I'll give you the first one. It's called Police Academy.
Second one, Back in Training?
No, that's the third one.
That's the third one. Yeah.
New Recruits? No, that's fourth one. No, that's Citizens on Patrol. No, the answer is I cannot name them all.
This is my problem.
Second one's called The First Assignment, or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, then Citizens on Patrol. I can't remember what the fifth one's called.
No, okay, it's Police Academy. Then I'm going to do the colons. The First Assignment, Back in Training, Citizens on Patrol, Assignment Miami Beach, City Under Siege, and then Mission to Moscow.
Mission to Moscow is the worst one by a long stretch.
I guess I likewise, not only can I guess in working against their favour, not only could I not remember their titles, I can't really remember what happened in any of them.
Oh, no. Oh, you won't, Chris. It's like a vortex of, they all just mash together into one big film.
We had to watch Mission to Moscow again recently because it was somebody's worst sequel. And at the point of watching it, Dave messaged me going, I haven't laughed once. I'm an hour in. It
is awful, that last
pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you that I think it is a franchise that they could do some sort of legacy sequel with.
Stephen Guttenberg would love to.
Sort of spin on it, like get rid of all the homophobia and racism and just make it funny.
Well, I looked at who was still alive. And so Steve Guttenberg, obviously, I'd bring him back as Mahoney. And because he's the flagship character throughout the franchise, I'm going to make him the commissioner. He's going to be the man in charge.
I like this. Nice. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm bringing back Michael Winslow as Jones.
Yep.
Got to. Who else we got? We got Leslie Easter-Baker.
Easterbrook. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's back. Kim Cattrall, bring her back.
Why not?
And importantly, I'm going to bring back Bobcat Goldthwait and Tim Kaczynski as Zed and Sweet Chuck, because I've got to be honest, those are the ones I probably watch the most. Ones where Zed's the villain, and then the one where Zed joins the force. Those are sort of double bill. Are where my real affection lies. Like the other month, I was at work, and I think I just got my hair cut, and there was a guy. I think he was sort of Eastern European, was said to me, said, "Oh, you look like the guy from the Police Academy films." I thought he meant Steve Guttenberg, I'll be honest with you. And then I was thinking, I'll take that as a compliment, but I don't. And then he's like, the guy that's like, ah, and I was like, oh. You mean Zed?
Oh no.
It's fine. No, there's a compliment in there somewhere, because I like Zed. Zed's a great character.
He is a great character. You're right.
That's true. Have you thought about the new recruit part though? Who would you want to see in a Police Academy film with them?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think about this, and then I instantly went to this list I've got of like, because I go to a ton of live comedy shows, and I ended up sort of looking through that. So it's largely British and Irish.
I love it. Yeah.
I came a bunch of names. I was like, of people I've seen that were really funny that I thought I would like to see them in this setting. So one of them was it was a drag queen called Kate Butch I saw earlier this year, who was hilarious.
Right.
So funny. And she's real sort of statuesque. And you haven't got Hightower anymore. So you want somebody that's super tall. So I was thinking, she's in.
Brilliant. Good start.
Jamali Maddox, his show wasn't very good, other than the fact his crowd work was superb. He spent the whole time just taking the piss out of one guy for the whole show. And he just has this kind of like real sort of anti-authority kind of like, he would be the worst person in the world to be a policeman. So that's gold to me.
Yes, agreed. I like him.
I went for this comedian called Fatima El Ghori, who I've seen a couple of times recently, and she's just got a real funny, large and life presence, because she's like a Muslim woman, but she's proper East London or North London or something. Like she's proper larger than life, because you need some sort of larger than lifeness to these things. I threw in Nish Kumar as well. I think great comedian.
Because why not?
and Catherine Bohart, I thought, as like the sort of straight person, the sort of to look to call them out on all their.
You need that person.
Someone that's more the audience's proxy, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe they launch a Police Academy London.
I was about to say, are we going to have another like?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to go all British and Irish, but then that's just what I just defaulted to, because I think at least stand-ups, I think Brits and Irish are the funniest in the world. I'm biased, but I like British humour. I am British. Get him in there.
I love that.
But I also came up because I assume the first one's going to be like Police Academy Next Generation, something like that.
Something like that.
I think I'm going to follow it up with Police Academy, The Filth and the Fury, where they're going to go undercover in sort of a punk scene. So it's a bit like Green Book, but funny. or maybe funnier. And also I'm going to put in a cameo from Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury.
Of course.
And then the follow-up to that is going to be Police Academy Pigs in Space.
Nice.
It's the only way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. It.
and I know, because that occurred to me. I had another idea for another fantasy sequel. Only brief, but it ties in with, I thought, like a year or so ago, I thought you should do I'm going to do a Babe 3, right?
Oh, God.
I'm going to set it during the Black Lives Matter riot. So he's got this crooked cop, right? And he's up to no good. And then he gets knocked down by the butt of a shotgun, right? So he's on the ground, shotgun pointing in his face. And then James Cromwell comes in. He says, "That'll do, pig. That'll do."
I like it.
Yeah, I haven't really worked out what Babe's going to be doing during this riot, but that's the crux of it, is that moment.
I like it, Chris.
Yeah. I don't mind a pun, I'll be honest.
I can tell.
Tons of fun.
There is a TV series which is a little bit like a British Police Academy called Piglets. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's quite funny.
What channel is that on?
It's on ITV, I think. You see it on like ITV Player.
But that's why it's such a ripe thing, because it's just a bunch of losers who all happen to be police. It's like the Thin Blue Line, but funny.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's a dated reference.
Oh, I like it. Do you think it hasn't happened? There must be reasons why it hasn't happened. Maybe the rights are tied up with some people who are not letting it go or something. But do you think it is those problematic things that were happening in the 80s with the jokes and stuff? Or cannot people see that they can update it and, like it 21st century jokes?
I think probably people don't even remember how problematic. I mean, like I say, for the podcast, because we're doing the 80s series at the moment, I see a lot of problematic films. Almost, if it's a comedy in the 80s, there's going to be some problematic jokes.
I think if there's a film in the 80s, there's going to be a problematic jokes. But
people don't seem to remember them. I was talking to my colleague today about it. We were talking about how much she was talking to me about how much she loves Temple of Doom, and I agree with her. But I was pointing out, like, what all the problematic we were talking about how, but people don't think of Temple of Doom and think it's pretty racist.
Yeah.
Or I said, did you watch Ace Ventura? And she went, that's great. And I went, Ace Ventura is one of the most transphobic films you will ever see.
Yeah.
But would you be surprised if they rebooted it now? No, I don't think people only can remember,
Well, I was watching Bring It On the other day, and some of the language in that is pretty horrible. And that was year 2000. Yeah. And that's got about 7 different sequels.
Early 2000s were as bad, if not worse, than the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was almost cool to be edgy and tell those kind of jokes with a knowing wink kind of thing. If you think about The Office and David Brent in The Office, like some of the stuff that he's getting away with, it's not stuff you do necessarily now, I don't think.
No. I reckon we might see a Police Academy one day. I really do.
I just wonder if it's got I wonder if it's still got the cultural weight. Although saying that, they made a Jump Street film, and that to me has even less.
Yes.
So I guess.
True.
I think there's so many people our age. Like you said, Police Academy was on. It was either Police Academy and Bond were on every weekend pretty much when we were young.
Yeah.
They were always on. And all those films have all meshed together into one big film. So I was very surprised when I watched Mission to Moscow, and it was truly fucking terrible.
So what should have been? It's the same as Ghostbusters. Both of them would have made sense to do it during the Apatow era and plug a load of those people in. Both of those films, because they're essentially very similar. Sort of bunch of losers have to do this job, save the day, and they would have been right for plugging in like Rogan and Paul Rudd, and I mean they did plug in Paul Rudd, but you know what I mean? Like
Hader.
during like 2006, 2007, all those people in a Police Academy film or a Ghostbusters film then would have been just easy money.
Yeah. Oh, I would have liked to seen that one now. Oh,
yeah. A Police Academy film, or a Ghostbusters film with all the cast of knocked up. Let's go.
I love that.
Those were Chris Johnston's Unequal sequels. Nice to see Before Sunset coming up again.
It's a very much loved sequel, isn't it, by this point?
It's a very much loved sequel by me, I think. So, I was quite happy when I see it come up.
Yeah, I think it might be in your top 10 best sequels ever.
Yeah, I think it probably would be. Yeah, I think it's there.
I think it's been picked quite a few times now, hasn't it? Like at least 3 or 4. It's very popular.
Yeah, I think at least 3.
Yeah.
But possibly 4. I'm not sure. So let's have a think. Who's picked it? So Jane Crowther picked it, right?
Yeah.
And Layla Latif picked it.
That's
way
those two.
back in season 2.
That's it.
Oh, they're the only 2. Way back in season 2. Oh, okay. Interesting. I thought in my brain it's more popular than that.
I thought it became up a lot more than that as well.
Yeah, me too. But we should do a ranking of how often sequels come up as people's favourites.
I think if it passes 5, it should go into like a Hall of Fame kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we can send out gold mugs and stuff to production companies. Because that's what they want.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
directors or something like that. I reckon Richard Linklater would love a gold Unequal sequel mug.
I bet he would.
It'd be incredible. It's a brilliant film. I would get a bit angry if people tell me they don't like it. And I haven't really met anyone that told me they haven't liked it yet.
No.
So I still haven't watched the first one.
David, go and watch the first one.
I've watched Sunset and Midnight, and I like them both very much, actually. Well, Sunrise is the first one, isn't it? I don't know. I'm just waiting for a moment in my life where I need it. Need it, and so far
you need it now. You need it now, Dave. You need it now.
Need it now. Also, his worst ever sequel.
Yeah, I think that'll be a mildly controversial one for some people. Kill Bill Volume 2.
It is not a great sequel. It's definitely not as good as the first one, Volume 1, is it?
I'm not a big fan of either.
I like the first one. I've watched the first one quite a few times over the years, and I've never felt the need to return to Volume 2 since watching the cinema when me and you did back in university, like whatever it was, 2004. I think I was like, Volumes 1's enough for me. All the stuff I like is in that first film. The second one is very much a dialogue-heavy movie compared to wonderful, brilliant action and stuff that's in the first one. But yeah, I think it'll be a controversial choice. I'm surprised. I'm sure someone one day will pick it as best. It feels like one of those sequels that you either love or hate.
If you really love those kind of 70s kung fu movies, if you really, really love them, then maybe the homage that Kill Bill Volume 2 does. But then Volume 1's more the kung fu movies, isn't it? Volume
second's like more of a
Western, yeah. If you really love Westerns, maybe you'll choose it. If you really love Tarantino, maybe it's your thing.
Oh, yeah. Big Tarantino heads might get angry with us.
Yeah, they might too.
If they're a thing.
I think that I'm sure there's Tarantino stands out there. Hey, hit us up. Get the social media. Send us an email.
Let us know. Yeah. And then Dream sequel, obviously, his Dream sequel is a legacy sequel of the Police Academy.
Yeah, I mean, this is risky because so many of those movies are trash.
I reckon more bad ones than good ones.
Definitely more bad ones than good ones, I would say. Although I still have a soft spot for Police Academy movies, so I can see where he's coming from with it.
Yeah, it's a big moment of my childhood, watching those like every Sunday. Again, we keep saying we don't know which one's which at this point, and all the riffs, they all like, is that movie? Is that? No, that's the third, and that's the fourth one.
I mean, all I know is that Mission to Moscow is very, very bad.
Yeah.
That's all I can remember because we watched it recently.
But I'm surprised that they haven't tapped into a new police academy somehow.
Yeah.
Guttenberg's still around. They can wheel him in for a bit and then
Kim
give it over to
still
a new
around.
cast.
You
only need a few those characters. I don't think those characters need to be in the movie all the way through.
No.
I think it's definitely a passing of the torch moment. With that one, then actually having lots of returning characters.
Because surely they wouldn't still be in the academy.
No, well, they'll all be the teachers, I guess, but all retired at this point.
That's true. Yeah.
So who knows? But it was lovely to talk to Chris. Thank you very much, Chris, for picking these choices. We very much loved watching them, enjoyed them. To be fair, that was not the worst set we've had to sit through this season. So that was actually quite.
We didn't. Yeah, some Police Academy movies are bad, but some are good. Kill Bill Volume 2, not the worst. Not but the worst sequel, to be honest. We've watched a lot worse sequels than that.
Yeah.
And Before Sunset's just lovely.
Yeah.
So,
So thank you, Chris. Great choices. Go check out Chris's film podcast. It's called Easy Riders Raging Podcast. That is a tongue twister, that one. It is a retro film podcast. And I think we discussed it on the Another Slice episode. I think Chris is trying to cover every movie ever made. So go check it out. Again, we laugh about this on the Another Slice episode. His numbering of episodes is mad. Okay, I'm just warning you all now. But you can tell with Chris, it's a great fun listen, and he loves his movies, so it's definitely worth your time. So go check that out. And once again, thanks, Chris, for coming on the podcast. You were brilliant.
Lovely. Well said, Dave. If you loved this episode, if you tuned in just to hear Chris, then go back and listen to all our other episodes. We've got thousands of brilliant guests. We've got wonderful comedians, brilliant film people, filmmakers, film writers. We've even got sports people and all sorts of different people you can go and listen to. Go all the way back to season 1 because, you need that in your life. And while you're there, hit that auto download button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll drop into your pod player of choice every single week. Also, if you really love us, if you want to hear a bit more from Chris, like Dave said, if you want to hear us talking about like his numbering system for his episodes of his podcast, for example, or all the crazy movies and things that he's covered, then join us on Another Slice. It's anotherslice.com/unequal sequel, and just $2.99 a month. You can join our subscription service and you'll get a sequel to all of our interview episodes. You'll get another podcast called Disenfranchised, where we talk about movies that should have had a franchise but didn't. And you'll get Box Set Mentality, where Dave and I watch a box set of movies and tell you all about them and what we think. It's fun. It's good fun. It's definitely worth the $2.99. It's a bargain. So get over there, anotherslice.com/unequal sequel. You can also get in touch with us on social media. Let us know what you thought about Chris's picks. Tell us how brilliant Before Sunset is. Maybe you're someone who doesn't like it. Maybe you're the one person. Let us know on social media. We're on all the social medias. Just type in Unequal Sequel in the search bar and you'll find us. Or if you don't do social media and you found us by some sort of carrier pigeon message, you can send an email to us. We are unequalsequel@hotmail.com. Come and join us over there. We will read out all your comments in the end of month roundup.
That's what we do. That's who we are. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks, Chris, for coming on and telling us his best, worst, and dream sequel. We move on next week on to Season 7, Episode 5. That's right. Correct. Yes. Episode 5. We are shuffling at quite a speed now. Hope you're enjoying it. We are loving recording and watching all these sequels. It's great. Great season so far. Thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate anyone that gives their time to us. We don't understand why, but thank you. We enjoy doing it.
We do understand why. This is a really good podcast. It's
a really good podcast, and we're really good podcasters.
Yeah,
right?
We are. Yeah. So many people have told us we're good at this. I'm starting to believe it now.
Oh, that's very sweet. That's good. You need that in your life, that after 3 and a bit years that we finally know what we're doing. Yeah, thank you for everyone. I've got nothing else to say, so it's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And a goodbye from him.
Bye!
See you on the next one. Sequel to this one. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
It's so slick and professional now, dude.
I know, we really just rattle these off.
Yeah. We didn't take 15 takes to record that. You know, I didn't say anything stupid that I can remember.
Yeah. But nothing we have to cut out, ban.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I won't ask you that. I was going to say there's a rude word that I say in the Another Slice thing, so shall I beep it?
Nah, it's fine.
Okay, cool. We are explicit. We picked the explicit box for a reason in the podcast upload, so we can swear as much as we like.
Yeah.
So, see you later, fuckers.
Be rude.